Welcome back. The next tutorial that I'm going to be doing is working with MySQL and looking at some of the syntax for different functions that MySQL offers. Right now you can see I'm in PHP MyAdmin. I've already set up a MySQL database and I've got, it's called Innovate. And within that I've got two tables, idea and votes. And what we're going to use is we're going to do a few of the different commands to show how they work. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to use the select command. So the way that we're going to do this is we would do select. And I like this one because it'll show you the commands. And we're basically telling it to select everything from, and we can pick an everything from, and we'll say idea, and that's one of our tables. So when I go ahead and run that, you can see that it's actually loaded all of the data that was in that table. We can do a few other things. We can selectively do things where first name, for instance, give me one sec. Okay, so I didn't do that right, so let's see what else. Okay, so what I did wrong is, so in this case where first name, and we'll say equals, and we'll do Charlie, we'll hit go. These are all the place where the first name equals that. So you can either select the all and allow it to pull all the data from the table, or you can look for a particular item and find all of the things that have to do with that. The other thing that we can do is use what's called a join, where we can use a similar item from two different tables and pull those together into one response. So in this particular case, we will edit this, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated than it is, but we're going to do this. Okay, we'll use last name. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to join an idea Okay, and the issue that I was having was that I was on one of the tables instead of operating that SQL on the actual full database for the join. So this is actually the code I'm looking for. So I'm looking for joining from table A, the ID, the first name from table A, and the vote ID from table B. These are the two tables. So idea is the first table, votes is the second. And what I'm doing is I'm having the commonality between the two is the ID. So when it finds the ID in table A, it's going to look for that same ID in table B, which is votes. Okay. And that should be all we need there. So now you can see that what we actually got was we got the ID of the idea. We got the first name of the idea submitter, as well as the vote ID that it got. And if we order it by the ideas, you can see that idea number 1 got 2 votes. It was vote number 48 or 44 and 48. Number 2 got 45 and 57. So those are 2 votes, or 3 votes, sorry, also 58. Idea number 3 has 2, 4 has 1, 6 has 1, and so on. So that's how you would use the join. So you'd select which fields you're trying to join. You'd select the tables that those fields come from and what is the common link between them. And it's adding that, which we don't really need. And that's how you'd end it. The next command we're going to use is the SQL update command. And that's going to allow us to modify any field of the MySQL table. Now, obviously I'm in PHP MyAdmin. If I wanted to, I could directly edit, but this is to give an idea of how you would do this at a command prompt. So what we're going to do, update. We're going to use the table name, which is idea. So that's the table we're going to use. We're going to set, let's say, first name. And we're going to make it Barney or something like that, just so we can see that it changes. Okay. We're going to use the where. It's going to tell it where to do that. And it's going to be ID equals 3. And before I execute this, let's go look at what ID number 3 is. So we'll copy this. Let's go to ID number 3. Okay, so ID, order them by number. ID number 3, Charlie. Charlie Wolf. So now we go to SQL. And we're going to enter our command that we just typed in. And we're trying to set it to Barney. Okay, so now we go back and we look in there again. And as you can see, instead of Charlie, it's Barney. So that's the update command. The next function that we'll use is the delete. Once again, I could do it directly in here. If I wanted to delete this, I could just come down there and delete it. But the purpose of this is to see how the command is structured. So it's pretty easy if we use our last one. And we're going to say delete from. Which table are we deleting it from? We don't need any of this. And we're going to delete that same ID. So once again, delete from what table and where the ID is 3, which is the one we just set to Barney. So we'll go ahead. Do we really want to execute that? And there we go. So now we go back to our idea. And we can see now that we're missing ID number 3. So that's how you use delete. So thank you for joining me for this tutorial on MySQL syntax. and we've done the select syntax, we've used joins, we've done update and delete. Any questions, please put them in the comments. Have a great night.